It's day one of the DA's Federal Congress here at Gallagher Estate in Midrand, Johannesburg. And I'm joined by Solly Malatsi, DA MP and the party spokesperson. Solly, you are in the running for the party's Deputy Chairperson position. You are one of many people up for the three positions to be Deputy Federal Chairperson. Why are you contesting this position?
Thanks very much, and thanks for the opportunity. Look, I think it's an important time for the DA, and because it is ahead of an election, I think the DA is at a time where the second layer of leadership has grown and matured. And I believe that having been part of the organization for 17 years, having been a member of parliament for almost 10 years now, because I was elected in 2014, I believe that I've gathered sufficient experience working with the different leaders of the party to be a key contributor to the team. I think where the DA is right now, in order for us to recover from the losses of 2019 and to make the breakthrough into the new constituencies that we need to build new relations with civil society. We need to be much more prominent, amongst voters that we have never won before. There are millions of people who have never voted who qualify to vote, and I think there's an opportunity engaging those voters. And I think much more than anything, South Africa is craving for leaders that are relatable and that are able to engage with different constituencies, and I think that's what I bring to the table, and hence the decision to contest for Deputy Federal Chairperson.
The focus today is on who's going to be the leader of the party.
Yeah.
Who are you supporting?
I'm definitely supporting John Steenhuisen. I believe that given the performance of the DA post-2019, and when John Steenhuisen came in as an interim leader and ultimately was elected at Congress, he has done key things in order to stabilize the DA.
Like
I
what?
believe one thing is making sure that there's policy certainty. As you know, one of the key criticisms that we got from the media, from analysts, was this issue of policy ambiguity and uncertainty in the DA leading up to 2019. Post that, and as an immediate intervention that John Steenhuisen initiated, was for us to have the policy conference so that we settle the issue of policy uncertainty. But I also believe more than that, what he has been able to do in Parliament in particular is to build a strong team of people around himself. If you look at previous leaders of the DA, it's been about the big personalities, right? And we now know that it is a risky thing to outsource the entire lifespan of the party into one personality. What John Steenhuisen has been able to do in Parliament, using the powers that a leader has through key appointments like the appointment of the Chief Whip. For the first time in the history, the official opposition has a young black female as the Chief Whip of the opposition. The Parliamentary Councillor of the DA is a DA youth member who comes from the province of the Eastern Cape. These are key people who are talented, who have been given the opportunity to rise through the leadership part of the party. And I think just a year before an election, it is unwise to change the leadership of the party.
Elections in 2024 loom large at this Congress here, because how things play out at this Congress will determine the role of the DA in a post-election conversation, which is, does the DA lead a coalition government with smaller opposition parties, or does it join the ANC? Should the ANC majority get reduced to below 50% after the 2024 elections? Or does the DA stand as a formidable opposition to an ANC-led coalition, if you like? How important is this Congress to the elections in relation to this, what I've just sketched out?
Yeah, it's a very important Congress for the Democratic Alliance, and I think everyone in the party realizes that. And the important thing, as you particularly say, is that this will give a hint in terms of what the electoral performance of the DA would be, and post the electoral performance of the DA, which direction will the DA go? Does the DA indeed form the center of a new majority? Our focus is, we obviously want to be the biggest opposition party so that we can lead a coalition of the opposition parties, and it is important.
Is that what the Congress will discuss?
Absolutely. Is that what John's vision has also been the party, and it's what has resonated with everyone in the party. I mean, we got 21% in the last elections, and it's realistically impossible to form a majority government on our own. So the realization is that we need to grow our position so that in the opposition coalition, we remain the dominant party.
The final question, Solly Malatsi, is that in the last few years there has been a lot of conversation around racial dynamics and the Democratic Alliance, for a long time now. There was a phenomenon called Blackzit since the last Congress 3 years ago, where formidable, well-known Black Party leaders, your colleagues in Parliament, exited the party in a situation where they expressed that they could not find, comfort, or they did not find resonance in the Democratic Alliance. Can we get to a point where we analyze the DA, we discuss the DA without talking about race? Let's start there.
Look, I think that is the biggest challenge to analysts and even to the media. And it is not nice to lose people, and it's not nice to lose talented people. But the reality is that in politics, people live for different reasons, right? Some people, when the pool of talent is small and they've got prominence, it's nice in politics because the prominence is around them. But when the pool is much bigger and there's a generation of talent that is emerging, it means that the spotlight is not shining on the same people it was shining on previously. And some people in politics are not used to operating without power or operating without influence. So they will leave, right? But as I said, we never celebrate departures of people because we are much stronger with those individuals. But I think the biggest challenge to the media is that when you look at the departures of, let's say, prominent Black people, look at the prominent Black leaders that are there in the party. One of my biggest frustrations with the media, for instance, is that they seem to downplay, for instance, the prominence of the rise of the Black female chief whip of the DA, right? But they'll put prominence on a regional chairperson of the DA leaving, right? Because that is newsworthy for them. And I think the prism with which outsiders look at the DA is a very simplistic view of the party. If you look at the majority of the delegates, it's such a diverse crowd. If you look at the provincial leaders, right? And even if you look at the profile of the mayors of the DA, the most important thing in communities is that everyone wants their municipality to perform. So you can't tell
But can I say then,
Sure.
the last 5, 6, 7 appointments or candidates that the DA fielded in different municipalities have been white males. If you look at Tshwane, if you look at let's not say white males, but white individuals. If you look at the speaker in Mangaung, if you look at the Ekurhuleni mayor, you look at a lot of these positions that the DA had an opportunity to field a candidate, and they ended up fielding white candidates. And so one has to question, is the DA, sort of moving away from an effort to mirror what South Africa looks like?
No, I disagree with that analogy, because with us, public reps or even mayors emerge through a process that is open to everyone, right? They go through the same process of the selection panel, writing the test, and ultimately to the selection panel interviews. The most important thing is you don't need to be a Black person in order to deliver to Black communities. You don't need to be a white person in order to deliver favorably to all South Africans, right? But South Africa has a history, and that history influences how a lot of people look at key appointments, you say. But the most important thing for us, and that is what the primary focus of DA governments is, the ability to deliver services and to deliver those consistently, to govern well and to lead honestly. And that is why someone like Chris Pappas, whose obsession is making sure that he uplifts that community in Umgeni, is so loved in that community because people care about whether their water is running, whether their waste, their refuse is removed, and whether they feel safe in their communities. And when that happens, the trust towards the party in government grows. And that's what I think we are trying to get into.
Can you then say that the era of looking at the DA through the prism of race should end?
Look, I think what the DA has been able to demonstrate is that we can operate in a society that does not limit viewing at the DA through the prism of race, because we have demonstrated that our systems produce individuals who are talented regardless of their race, right? But as you say, the other issue that affects a lot of people in terms of how they look at society is through our history of racial division. And that's what we are trying to overcome by demonstrating that you can lead a diverse party that represents different constituencies in the party. There are people from Limpopo here, there are people from the Northwest, rural communities that have dedicated their lives to the DA, and they are leading the DA in their respective communities.
What are you looking forward to the most in the next 2 days?
What I'm looking forward to the most to the next 2 days is hopefully to get elected, but also like just the atmosphere towards the resolutions. We can often limit congresses to the election of personalities, but that is the least of the most important things that I imagine here. What's going to emerge here is, the key resolutions that have been put forward, because what they do is they give an opportunity to the ordinary members of the DA to influence the direction of policy, and that is the most fulfilling thing, because as members of the party, they need to have a voice in shaping the direction of the organization.
Solly Malatsi, thank you very much for your time and all the best for your contest.
Thank you very much.